Hey guys, I wanted to talk about the VA in Tomah, Wisconsin. There's a long history with this VA, and I think there's problems mainly revolving around Senator Tammy Baldwin, and I'd like to raise some awareness. So basically, this dentist may have infected around 592 veterans from failing to properly sterilize his equipment from October of 2015 through to October 2016. So a full year. And the infections include HIV, hepatitis B, and hepatitis C. So now they're going and contacting those veterans to provide free screenings and medical treatment. Hopefully, none of them come up positive, but who knows? And you know, this could lead to lawsuits and stuff if people do come up positive. So the but here's what really gets me. The dentist has been removed from patient care and is now working in an administrative role. How did they keep their job? I mean, I know they got transferred, but how are they working anywhere in the VA? That's a little ridiculous. And this is bureaucracy. So, if this was a business, he'd be gone that day or the next day or very, very quickly. He wouldn't get transferred. And the problem is Senator Tammy Baldwin and her staff and, the VA in general, they have a history of just moving people around. And so basically, to look into that history a little bit of what happened at this same location in the past. Um, there were there's a report by the VA Inspector General, a copy of which was obtained by USA Today, noted that two practitioners at the center were among the highest prescribers of opiates in a multi-state region at a considerable variance compared with most opioid prescribers, that the report said raised potentially serious concerns. What they're saying is basically that they're overprescribing opiates, and a whistleblower sounded the alarm months ahead of time, and she did nothing ahead of it. Months before what? Months before a veteran actually died from overprescription, as you can see here, from the opiate abuse at the facility. So it's actually, there's this em- employee who used to work for the Tomo VA. Um, his name's Ryan Honnell, and he repeatedly emailed her office, her being Senator Tammy Baldwin, asking that she do something to help veterans at the center, and she just wouldn't do anything. Um, so then he ended up going to the the media about it, and that's when she started, getting the attention. And the question is, why did Tammy Baldwin remain silent? And as soon as the media finds out, all of a sudden she deals with it. You know, she must have known beforehand with all these emails and stuff. Um, you can get a guaranteed response, usually within 30 days, or if you contact her. So she does see this stuff. There's no questions about that, especially if he repeatedly made these emails. There's I've contacted her and I've gotten responses. I've actually talked to her directly on the phone and her staff, and she's not a very pleasant person, by the way. But so, anyways, there. Oh, one other point I wanted to make, and it's about her character. Why I think that she doesn't. Why I think it's just my hypothesis, but why I think she doesn't care about this issue very much and why she's not doing anything about it. The VA is about veterans. The veterans are primarily a male issue. Okay, you know, sure, some women are in the armed forces and stuff, but most of the people who get sick and injured and that are in the military, they're mostly men. She's a feminist. She's a lesbian. She has adopted daughters. She's a woman. Do you see a pattern here? Everything is about women. And she's even been on equality panels with nothing but women, with like, you know, Christina Gillibrand, and there's been McCaskill, and um, other senators, other feminist senators that are women that all get together and they say, this is an equality panel because, we're all women and that's equality, right? So I honestly think that has a lot to do with this issue. And she probably would have cared if this was impacting primarily women. And hey, guess what? The whistleblower was a man as well, so go figure, maybe he was mansplaining to her about the issue. But, so, to continue on with this issue to explain it, that ended up killing um, the veteran from opiate abuse. Basically, what happened is Democrats, including Bernie Sanders, you know, Russ Feingold he's been a senator for Wisconsin, and he recently ran and lost. He was up against Senator Ron Johnson, and there Hillary Clinton, um, Tammy Baldwin. They've all refused to help. They've either ignored the situation. That's mainly what Bernie Sanders has done. Tammy Baldwin has also ignored the situation more directly. Then, and she's also like just moved people around, protected people, and you know, she hasn't taken the situation seriously. Russ Feingold attacked Ron Johnson, who Ron Johnson has been, trying to solve the issue to some extent, but Russ Feingold he's refused to, really do anything about the situation, and to even like raise it, he just attacks Ron Johnson. That's what he does. And when the whistleblower himself um, goes in and starts supporting Republicans such as Ron Johnson and Donald Trump, and you look at why he's doing this, it says all I know is that Trump is sending fear into the very status quo, a special interest I despise. And that gives you an insight into what Ryan Honnell thinks the problem is. He's a Gulf War veteran, by the way. He sees this as a special interest issue. He thinks that basically it's the unions that are tied to all these Democrats. So the Democrats don't want to upset the unions because that's where they get money from, and then the unions want to protect the workers because that's their job and where the union gets their money from. And but by protecting the workers, they're protecting them over the veterans. And that's how this system comes to be. That's how this culture gets created. Then the Democrats just turn their cheek. And, when there is a problem, the union, they report it to Democrats. They don't report it to Republicans. So, because they know, Democrats will work with them, and uh, you know they'll be able to protect their workers a lot better. And even though their workers are in such so wrong, like is they're so incompetent, and Tammy Baldwin's office is so incompetent. Um, in fact, even Tammy Baldwin she got so much pressure that she had to fire one of her aides, Marquette Baylor, who was an incompetent female aide, by the way. You'll just see, just the continually um, gendered part aspect to this. Now, normally I wouldn't be bringing up the gender, but it's just like from all these different angles, you could just see how it like along gender lines, she doesn't listen to men, and I think she hates men. She you know refuses to help men. Um, they're just over and over, but she'll help women constantly. If you look at her record, it's all about being a feminist and stuff. So, but anyways, this is gonna be a little irony here. Is after she rejected a deal, this Marquette Baylor girl, get this, rejected a deal um, that would be a buyout, basically. She said that getting fired was wrongful termination or sexual discrimination, and she was exploring a potential lawsuit if she got fired. Well, what are you talking about? You were incompetent and you're gonna fire this female lesbian feminist that adopted girls, children? Like, yeah, I'm sure she's really discriminating against women in the workplace. Give me a break. So that just shows you how she's built the ideology behind her staff, behind her. This is um this is how feminism operates. But Tammy Baldwin had so much pressure. She even tried to let this Marquette Baylor girl out easy way by buying her out, and she wouldn't. Baylor wouldn't have that. And now other people should have gotten fired. I agree, but that doesn't mean Baylor shouldn't have been fired. So, uh, but basically, this is a long-term problem. This is a systematic. When feminists talk about systematic problems, they're not always wrong, and except here, the systematic problem is on the VA, and it comes from the unions being in bed with the Democrats being in power, and then the Democrats, covering for, and just like when these when they the, something is found wrong, they just move all of these people around. They only one person was fired and a veteran died, and now all these people might be infected. Nobody's fired yet. So yeah, it's a little ridiculous. Oh, and by the way, here's what I was looking for. It's that severance pay, um, which is typically equal to 1 week's salary for every year of service. So uh, Baylor started working in 2013 and made $80,000 salary in 2014. So you're talking like 2 years. So she could have gotten a couple weeks salary from that, which is a good chunk of change when you're making 80 grand a year. And possibly some from 2015. I don't. Oh no, she got fired in 15. So no, only 2 weeks. But um, we need to we need to solve this problem. That if the problem was solved in the first place, she never would have had to, or we never would have run into this dental problem. So there should have been so much attention on this VA after the first time, and there was a little, but people forgot about it, and nothing was taken seriously. And we need to vote out Tammy Baldwin. I mean, we're at that point where she's just incompetent, and she's mismanaging the people under her. And, they say that when they're putting pressure on the whistleblower and they're telling them they don't give in to special interests. Well, as he says, basically says, she's giving in to the special interests of the union. So she does give in to special interests. See, I'll read it specifically to you. It says, he kept telling me Tammy doesn't sell out to special interests. By he, they mean one of Tammy Baldwin's aides or staffers. Except that the union dropped the ball years ago and the Democrats knew what was going on at Tomah long before vets started dying. So that gives you an idea. And I do have to give some credit to WisconsinWatchdog.org. This is part 22 of 34 in the series of Tomah VA scandals, so, all they can do is put the message out there. It's up to people to grab onto it, so, this is pretty tragic. Um, Keep an eye open, send Senator Baldwin messages or whatever, make sure she's held accountable, especially if you're from Wisconsin. You can send her a message if you're not from Wisconsin, even. Um, you might not get a response, but there's nothing stopping you. And from people from Wisconsin, especially let her know because then she knows she's losing votes. And, you know, I've actually had problems with her in the past where I've asked her you can contact her and it'll give you a list of issues to contact her about. And I'll say like men or say women's issues or agriculture, things like that. I asked her to add men's issues or change women's issues to gender issues, and she refused. And it's like if you change women's issues to gendered issues, like that's only broadening it. People could still send her women's issues, but she doesn't care to hear about men's issues. So this is a this is an ideological problem where I think Senator Tammy Baldwin actually hates men. She's not interested in helping men at all. I've brought up issues about um, domestic violence shelters for men and, trying to get some up and get some funding for some and things like that. And literally, I'm not even joking. Her staffer laughed at me on the phone. Like, this was just some joke that, men are abused and to want to have a domestic violence shelter for men that, when we have them for women. And I even had this conversation with her staffer. I'm like, do you believe in domestic violence? Or, because her staffer tried to tell me that they don't, they're not for any gendered issues. Like they don't want it to gender it, which is a respectable position if that's actually how you're treating everything. But I said, do you support domestic violence shelters for women? And they said, of course. And I said, then why don't you just support domestic violence shelters for men? And it was quite clearly, I mean, I don't know how she didn't see it coming, but like she was stunned. And then, she starts laughing at me for this stuff. Like it just shows the mentality of her staffers, the ideology. When you put all this other stuff together, it's I even question how many men are really in her life that, you know, she really cares about. So if there aren't a lot of men around her or a lot of boys around her, then it would make sense that she wouldn't cover these issues or care about them as much. If you're a woman and, you have a husband or, you have boy children, like then clearly, even though you're a woman, you can relate to some of these other issues. But when you're just surrounded by women everywhere, it's not quite the same. So consider that was Tammy Baldwin consider this VA issue scandal, I should call it, the repeated history, and I'll talk to you guys later.